Good evening, friends. First of all, I would like to recommend you to subscribe to this channel if you want to know the law of the land. So, in this session, we are going to discuss the main basic things related to law which every legal professional should be aware of it. That is, we are going to discuss in this session what is the main difference between substantive law, what is the procedural law, and what is the difference between Indian Penal Code and Criminal Procedure Code. And we are also going to look not only the difference between them but also what is the jurisdiction of Indian Penal Code. Jurisdiction means applicability. Where is this Indian Penal Code is applied? Whether is it applied on foreign citizen, whether it is applied on Indian citizen who is staying abroad. So jurisdiction, we will learn about jurisdiction as well. And also there are subtypes in this jurisdiction like intra-territorial jurisdiction and extraterritorial jurisdiction. We will also look into this like with very simple examples, and we will finally look what is ignorance of law is no excuse, what is this, and there is a legal term on this, so we will also look into that. So we will begin. Friends, law is mainly categorized into two elements, substantive law and procedural law. Many a times we hear both these terms, but what exactly does this stands? What is substantive law? Friends, substantive law means it mainly deals with the rights and liabilities, whereas procedural law, the name itself procedure, means it will tell what is the procedure to deal with or to enforce those rights and liabilities. Let us understand this with an example. For example, there is Maternity Benefit Act. We have an act, Maternity Benefit Act. So according to this act, there is section 5, and this section 5 it mainly tells that every woman has the right to maternity benefit. It means those women who are working, they have the right to maternity benefit. So so it is the right of the woman, right? Whereas what is the liability of employer? The liability of employer, it means the duty of employer is to to give that benefit to that woman, right? So here there is a right to woman, whereas at the same time there is a duty to the employer. That is, if employer do not stick to this law, then he will be punished under the law. So this is what substantive law. So substantive law, it defines what are the rights, what are the duties of other persons. So it defines the legal relationship that exists between the individuals. Whereas procedural law, it defines what is a procedure. It is a procedure, it is a machinery to enforce that rights and liabilities. Now we will take another example like Hindu Marriage Act. Under Hindu Marriage Act, we have right to marriage, right to divorce as well, right? So in Hindu Marriage Act, there is rights and at the same time liability is also mentioned, such as bigamy is an offense. Bigamy means having getting married like more than having more than two wives or two husbands. That is bigamy. So that is an offense. So Hindu Marriage Act is providing certain rights. At the same time, it is also providing certain liabilities. So if anybody commits such offense, then they are punishable under the act. So here, under the Hindu Marriage Act, they have not only mentioned what are the rights and liabilities. At the same time, that act also provided the procedure that has to be followed. So Hindu Marriage Act is both a substantive law as well as procedural law. Now, friends, Indian Penal Code, it is example of substantive law, whereas Criminal Procedure Code, that is CRPC, is an example of procedural law. Now, we will understand what is the main difference between Indian Penal Code and CRPC. Yeah, the main difference between Indian Penal Code and CRPC. So, I will explain you with some examples. Indian Penal Code 1860 and CRPC, that is Criminal Procedure Code, and it is of 1973. So friends, Indian Penal Code, this is the code which contains list of all crimes. So friends, here Indian Penal Code, it consists of all crimes such as, for example, murder, what is theft, what is robbery. So in such way, Indian Penal Code it defines offences. It defines offences at the same time it also tells what is the punishment for such offense. Whereas criminal procedure code, the term procedure itself tells us that we need to follow particular procedure to enforce this Indian Penal Code. For example, procedure procedure for investigation of crime and presenting criminals before the court, criminals presenting criminals before the court and collecting evidences and imposition of penalty. So IPC it mainly defines offenses like what is an offense, like what is murder, what is theft, what is robbery, and along with defining the offense, it will also tell what is the punishment for that particular offense. Whereas CRPC it defines a procedure like if somebody has committed murder, then what is the procedure of investigation, how the evidences are getting collected, and like presenting the criminals before the court and imposition of penalty. All these are covered under criminal procedure code. We will take an example. For example, section yeah, section 378 it talks about theft. So now, what is theft is defined under Indian Penal Code. Like, for example, whoever takes dishonestly any movable property without the consent, without that person's consent. For example, if somebody has took your watch without your permission, that is without your consent, dishonestly, then that is called theft. So in this way, every definition has been clearly mentioned under Indian Penal Code. And now at the same time, Section 379 tells the punishment. It prescribes the punishment. Like what is the punishment if somebody commits theft? So Indian Penal Code it mainly defines what is that offense, what constitutes offense, and what is the punishment. But whereas Criminal Procedure Code, now one person has committed theft. Now what is the procedure that need to be followed? How the evidences are getting collected? What is how the remedy has to be provided for the aggrieved party? What is the procedure? That everything, every detail is mentioned under Criminal Procedure Code, that is CRPC. I hope the concept is very clear. And one more thing, the main object of Indian Penal Code is to punish punish the wrongdoer. It means whoever is committing offense, whoever is doing wrong, that person has to be punished. This is the main object of Indian Penal Code. Whereas the main object of Criminal Procedure Code is to consolidate criminal law in the country. I'm sure that everybody understood the main basic difference between Indian Penal Code and CRPC. Now we'll move further. Now we will learn certain basic things about Indian Penal Code. Friends, here see Indian Penal Code it got approval in the year 1860. So 1860 means it was during British period. So during British period this Indian Penal Code got approval in the year 1860 but it came into force on 1st January 1862. It means it got implemented from 1st January 1862. And remember, First Law Commission of India. First Law Commission of India, it was formed in the year 1834. And this First Law Commission of India, it gave recommendation to draft Indian Penal Code. So this commission, and the chairman of this commission was, everybody know this person, Macaulay, Thomas Babington Macaulay. He was the chairman of this commission, and this commission has recommended to draft this Indian Penal Code. and finally it came into existence in 1862. It came into force on 1st January 1862, and it contains 23 chapters and 511 sections. See, friends, this code was uh, got approval in the year 1860, and even today we rely upon this Indian Penal Code. Moving further, Criminal Procedure Code. This code was drafted in the year 1973, and it contains 484 sections divided into 37 chapters, and this was enacted in the year 1973, and it came into force on 1st of April 1974. Now we shall look into the applicability of Indian Penal Code. Friends, remember Indian Penal Code 1860. It is applicable to whole of India, friends. It is applicable whole of India, including Jammu and Kashmir, including Jammu and Kashmir. So we all know on August 5th, 2019, our government of India has abrogated Article 370. We all know Article 370. It grants special status to Jammu and Kashmir, right? But on August 5th, 2019, this Article 370 got abrogated, and Jammu Kashmir was included in India. So what happened before was Jammu and Kashmir had a separate penal code called Ranbir Penal Code. So Jammu Kashmir had their own separate Ranbir Penal Code. But after August 5th, 2019, when this Article 370 got abrogated, even this Ranbir Code got it was removed, and now for whole of India, Indian Penal Code is applied. Moving further, now we will see the jurisdiction of IPC. So jurisdiction means like the applicability of IPC. It means the territory within which power can be exercised. It is again divided into two parts, intra-territorial jurisdiction and extraterritorial jurisdiction. We will understand what is this intra and extraterritorial jurisdiction with an example. So before that, once we'll read the what does that mean. Under IPC, criminal courts in India, they exercise jurisdiction either because a crime is committed by any person. I have highlighted this word any person, national or foreigner, within the Indian territory, or because a crime, though committed outside India, the person committing the crime is liable to be tried for it under any Indian law. So here the former is called intra-territorial and later is called extraterritorial jurisdiction. So now we will understand what does this slide, what is the gist of this with an example. Friends, first we will understand what is intra-territorial jurisdiction. Intra. And then we will understand what is extraterritorial jurisdiction. Intra means within India. Within India, within four walls of India, within the four walls of boundaries of India, whoever commits a crime. Here, any person, we have used the term any person, right? Here, any person means that person can be national, I mean, he can be citizen of India or he can be foreigner. So any person, whether citizen of India or foreigner, whoever commits any offense within India, then he will be punishable and Indian Penal Code will be applied on him. For example, let us take a person A and he belongs to US. He is US citizen and he came to India, and in India he committed murder. Murder is an offense under our Indian Penal Code. So a person from US, he is US citizen and he committed an offense in India. So he will be punished under Indian Penal Code. This is intra. So Any person committing any offense within the four walls of India, he will be punished under Indian Penal Code. Now coming to extraterritorial jurisdiction. Indian citizen, if Indian person, he commits offense in US, he's an Indian person and he's supposed to take rape or theft, anything, any crime you take, any offense you take, if that offense, which is an offense under Indian Penal Code, and if that offense is committed in any country outside India, even then that person will be liable under Indian Penal Code. I hope the concept is very clear. Intra-territorial jurisdiction and extraterritorial jurisdiction. And remember, friends, there is a famous Latin maxim that is ignorantia juris non executa excusat. Sorry. So here, that this Latin maxim, it says that ignorance of law is no excuse. It means if any foreigner is committing an offense in India, then he cannot take the defense telling that no, I don't know the law of that it is an offense in India. In that way, he cannot take the defense because if you do not know the law, then it is not the mistake of law. It is a mistake of person who committed that offense. So a foreigner or even a citizen, they cannot tell that they are not aware of that particular law that it is an offense. So here, ignorance of law is no excuse. It means even though they are not aware of that law, they cannot be relieved, and they will be punished under as per Indian Penal Code. And next, yeah, we will look into detail more points regarding the jurisdiction of Indian Penal Code. So, Indian Penal Code jurisdiction, it clearly, these are the three factors that are included under this jurisdiction of Indian Penal Code, and they are this jurisdiction of Indian Penal Code, it includes within the territory of India as defined in Article 1. So we all know Article 1 of Constitution of India says that India, that is Bharat, shall India, that is Bharat, shall be Union of States, right? So this Indian Penal Code is applicable to all those states and UTs that are defined under Article 1 of the Constitution. And it also includes territorial waters of India. We will see in further slides what does this territorial waters of India. And also on any ship or aircraft either owned by India or registered in India. All these 3 points we will discuss with an example so that the you will get more clarity on this. See friends, territorial waters, territorial sea means up to 12 nautical miles. So here in this image it is shown that up to this area 12 nautical miles. So up to 12 nautical miles from the base level it is considered as territorial sea. So any ship if traveling within this area, and if that ship belongs to India or any foreign country, but if any offense has been committed in that ship, then it will be liable under Indian Penal Code. That is what this second point says within the territorial waters of India. So if anybody commits any offense within the territorial waters, that is up to 12 nautical miles, even citizen or foreigner, then they will be liable under Indian Penal Code. So on any ship or aircraft, also they will be liable. Friends, every country has its own boundaries, right? Every country has its own geographical boundaries. In the same way, every country, not every country, some countries also has borders at sea level, such as India and Sri Lanka. They are divided through water, through sea, right? So every country also has geographical boundaries, and also some countries have border at sea level. As per international laws and agreements between the countries, they get divided. At the same time, and the same is the case with airspace. Airspace above India also has this Indian Penal Code jurisdiction. Yes, even airspace also has applicability. This IPC is also applicable. See, for example, let us assume like these are the plains of India. So these are Indian planes, and these planes, even if they cross the Indian airspace and if they travel abroad, so even then, if any offense is committed inside the plane, then also Indian Penal Code is applicable because these planes are Indian planes, right? So here Indian Penal Code will be applicable. In the same way, ships, any ship that belongs to India or registered in India, and if any offense is committed in this ship, either the offense is committed by foreigner or citizen, it doesn't matter, but the person will be held liable under Indian Penal Code because this ship belongs to India. Friends, now I'm going to ask you a small question. Think, analyze, and then answer. Suppose, let us take this is Indian plane. Okay, this is Indian plane, and this plane it is traveling to US. And in this plane, there is US citizen. Plane is Indian plane, but in Indian plane, there is US citizen. One US citizen is traveling in this plane. And this plane is traveling, and here, suppose, let us take Japan. So this plane has crossed Indian boundaries, Indian airspace, and it is traveling via Japan to US. Now, while crossing over this Japan in Japan airspace, while traveling to US, the person, US citizen in this plane, has committed an offense. He committed an offense when this plane is traveling to US. Now, my question is whether the US citizen, we all know when once he committed offense, he is liable. But here the question is under which court that person will be tried, whether he will be tried in US, India, or Japan, because plane belongs to India and the person is US citizen and he committed that offense in while traveling to US. He committed that offense when he was traveling via Japan. So friends, here this person, this US citizen, he will be tried as per Indian Penal Code because the reason is this flight, this plane got registered in India, and so this plane belongs to India. That is the reason why, though this plane is outside India, though it crossed the borders of India and is traveling abroad, but then the person has committed the offense in this plane. So when he committed offense in this plane, it is deemed that he has committed crime in India, and that is the reason why he will be tried as per Indian Penal Code. I hope the concept is very clear to everyone. And same is the case with ship. Indian ship, wherever it is traveling in the world, but if any offense is committed in this ship, then that person who has committed the offense, he will be liable as per Indian Penal Code. Now, friends, we all know Mumbai terror attack, and this person, Azman Kasab, he has murdered many people. He created terror. So here, Ajmal Kasab, he belongs to Pakistan, but he committed offense in India, that is in Mumbai. He attacked in Mumbai, right? So this person belongs to Pakistan and he committed offense in Mumbai. So it is an example of intra-territorial jurisdiction. And though he belongs to Pakistan, but he committed offense in India, that is the reason why this person will be liable under Indian Penal Code. He will be punished as per Indian Penal Code. Now, friends, we will understand with an example about adultery. Now, this is an example to understand about extraterritorial jurisdiction. Even in my previous slide, previous video which I have uploaded, that is on adultery only. If you haven't watched, then please go and watch. I have explained in simple terms what is adultery. But even in this video, I will tell you in brief what is meant by adultery, and we will move further like what is extraterritorial jurisdiction. Friends, adultery means if any male person, if he has any physical relation with women, woman means here married woman. If this person, if any man has some physical relation with married woman and which is not rape, it means this physical relation should be voluntary. It means with both of them consent, voluntarily they should be involved in this physical relation, and this is called adultery. Now, who can file a case? The husband of married woman. It means here this person's husband. This husband, he can file a case against this person because he has some physical relation with this married woman. I hope this is the concept is clear to you. Adultery means it is not rape, so it means having voluntary physical relation with any married woman. So friends, now here the concept is, this is England. This map belongs to England, and we know this is India. So friends, remember in England, adultery is not criminal offense. In England, it is civil offense. Civil offense means here only compensation needs to be paid if anybody commits adultery. But whereas in India, adultery is crime. But remember, friends, in 2018, Supreme Court has struck down and declared that it is no more a crime. But just to explain you what is extraterritorial jurisdiction, I have taken this example. Now, one more question to you, that is, let us take an example. If Indian citizen, he went to England, and in England he committed adultery. So friends, what do you think? Is he liable? Because just now I have said in England it is not criminal offense. So he went to England, this Indian person, he went to England, and in England he committed adultery because here in England it is not a criminal offense. Now tell whether this Indian citizen is liable under Indian Penal Code. What is your answer? So friends, the answer is he is liable. Yes, he is liable because just now we have seen any person, if any person means here, if any Indian citizen commits offense outside India, even then that citizen will be liable under Indian Penal Code. Now let us take another interesting example. If England citizen, if any person and he belongs to England citizen, he has committed adultery in England only, in England. After committing adultery in England, after that, after let us take an example, after 5 years he came to India. After 5 years he came to India. Now tell me whether Indian Penal Code is applicable on him. The answer is no, right? Because everyone know. Because here he has committed offense in England. He has committed offense in England. So after 5 years, he came to England, sorry, India, right? So it means in India he has not committed. After 5 years, he came to India and he became Indian citizen. So at the time when he committed that offense, he was in England and he belongs to England citizen. He belongs to England. So he is not liable under Indian Penal Code. So friends, I hope the concept is clear. Extraterritorial jurisdiction means Indian citizen Indian citizen committing offense outside India, then also he will be liable under Indian Penal Code. Whereas intra-territorial means any citizen or foreigner committing offense within the boundaries of India, then it is called intra-territorial jurisdiction. So friends, under Indian Penal Code, there are also certain immunities that are available. For example, under Article 361 of the Constitution of India, it clearly mentions that these people, president and governor, they get immunity from Indian Penal Code. It means during their tenure, if they commit any offense, even then they are not liable under Indian Penal Code. Of course, after completing their tenure, they will be liable. That is other case. But during their tenure, if they commit any offense, then they are not liable under Indian Penal Code. That is the immunity that is given to president as well as governors. And international law gives immunity to the following from criminal prosecution. It means such as foreign sovereigns. It means President of US, Queen of England. These are the people who are sovereign. They are totally independent, right? And they also represent the dignity of their country. So these people are also exempted from Indian Penal Code. And next is foreign army. So when army of other country, when they come to our nation, then they are also exempted from this Indian Penal Code. Moving further, even ambassadors. For example, if Pakistan ambassador, Pakistan person, he's an ambassador and he stays in India. So even he is also exempted from Indian Penal Code and he gets immunity from this Indian Penal Code. At max, what government can do is government can send that person back to their home. That's it. But he will not be liable under Indian Penal Code. And further, alien enemies. These people are liable under Indian Penal Code, but other than the acts of war. See, here it is clearly mentioned. Ordinarily, criminal courts have no jurisdiction over acts of war. It means during the acts of war, these people are they are not liable under Indian Penal Code. But other crimes of an alien enemy, which are not acts of war, so, which are not acts of war, then only they are liable. So, during acts of war, these people are exempted from Indian Penal Code. And finally, warships. They are also immune from Indian Penal Code. So, I hope the concept is very clear to you. I have tried my best to explain you the concept in very simpler terms with very simple examples. I hope everybody, the concept is very clear. So friends, that's all for the day. If you like my video, then please hit the like button and please do share my video if you find it useful, and also do subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much.